we're getting so much applause. I kind of feel that a bunch of flowers is going to come and smack me in the head at any moment.
We didn't really make the most of having such a packed benches in the songs, really, did we?
We didn't. We should have had a right. Maybe we'll do one on the way out. We'll do the Williams song. Anyway, we'll have a think about that. Anyway, I am Stanford Chidge. Very rude of me to ignore you out there. I don't mean to, but I am Stanford Chidge. This is the Chelsea Football Fancast, and this is a part that we kind of like to wing a bit, but. We are getting into the idea of having a debate every week where you lot can vote and you lot can have your say as well. You can phone up. We're hoping to get Rob Shepherd, who's an old mate of mine, been on the show, a renowned and revered football journalist, and he's very, very passionate about this subject, which is club versus country. Now, last Wednesday, we had to endure the utter awfulness of an international match featuring England. You can see where my theory is going with this. Now, apart from the terrible football on display, if you're a Chelsea supporter from whatever country, you probably spent most of the time worrying about who might get injured or in a pointless, low-quality football match. Now, after the Spurs game, JT was pressed in the presser, yet again on whether he would make himself available for England. Quite justifiably, he said no again, and quite frankly, who would blame him? So, what is the point of international football if you're a Chelsea supporter and English? The players get booed by the morons that go and treated with contempt by the management and the FA. The bottom line is that we see better football and better players supporting Chelsea. Oh, and we win things. Or is it as simple as that?
I think it is as simple as that.
You really do?
Yeah. You may have endured the horror of another rubbish English friendly.
It was awful, Dan. And it's always been awful.
I went to a pub with real ale and no TVs and ignored it and had a great night.
For me, it's less about I hate the word, but the product, so to speak. It's more the fact that I spend...
You're supposed to say brand now.
Okay, whatever, I don't really care. But
it's the brand.
But I spend most of my life mulling over and having this emotional involvement in Chelsea, so it's quite natural that I'm going to be much more bothered about that than I am about anything else.
I want the England team to do well, though, and I watch with hope, and I'm always disappointed.
Couldn't care.
I think that's the lot of the football fan.
You know what they say, though, Jonathan? It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah, well, it is, but I want them to do well, and I don't mind if he selects 5 Liverpool players, because if they play well all together, I'll be rooting for them.
The problem is they don't really, do they?
No, I thought that was a good move, though, to actually play. It's the first time 5 Liverpool players have played, but it meant that they each knew each other's play.
Who was the England manager that did that in the 70s? Was it Don Revie or someone like that?
No, he played all of Leeds' team, because that's who he just managed.
Someone definitely played 5, 6 Liverpool players.
Yes, he did. That was the last time it happened. But they were the best team at the time.
Denmark weren't. They still labelled to a victory.
Time out. It would have been Greenwood, because at that time, Liverpool were European champions. They'd only won it 2 times.
I don't think it was Greenwood, because Greenwood's selections were all completely maverick. He chose all the best players, and he chose Worthington, he chose Bowles, he chose all the players who were playing really well at the time.
He did.
But actually, that wasn't him. I'm getting it completely wrong.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you see, when
That's a load of rubbish. Ignore what I just said.
I just wonder, if...
It was Greenwood.
I just wonder about this, because... I as a kid growing up, I mean, here's the thing, I'm nearly 50, so as a kid growing up, I would have been quite young in the early 70s, and at that time, you only had 2 types of matches on football, on TV that were live, and that was the FA Cup final, and those were international matches with England. So, I was so excited as a kid, I'm massively into football, played every weekend, so irrespective of Chelsea, it was really important to me to watch England, and they did well.
It's also because they hadn't won the World Cup long before.
No, but they came on the back of it. My first ever football, Jonathan, was a Bobby Moore football, and it was bought for me by my godfather in 1970. In 1970, during the World Cup in Mexico, I had the whole SO coin collection. It's like massive stuff. But
you had a small World Cup Willie, didn't you?
I did have a very small World Cup Willie, but it's grown over the years. Then I endured...
Cheap, I'm sorry.
Then I endured, at a very impressionable age when I was getting into football, blah, 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 having seen England being the best team in the world, and they were arguably the best in the world in 70, really. I mean, they were very unlucky not to win it. So then
possibly Peter Bonetti's problem.
Yeah, but then you get 74 and 78 when we were mugged off, got it wrong, whatever. And I'm not saying that I lost it then. It actually made me more passionate about England. But I've got to say, in the last 10 to 15 years, I don't know what really did it for me, whether it was 2006. I think 2006 was quite a watershed, but 2002 probably was as well. I'm just fed on the back teeth of of seeing England fail miserably, be mismanaged, have players that I care not a jot for and actually loathed intensely, fed up with the fans who are basically, as they would say on TalkSport, actually, fans of lower quality football in the lower leagues, whose only chance to see a decent footballer is to go to an England match and then spend most of their time booing, usually our players, JT, Ashley Cole, Frank Lampard, get it in the net. And I'm just thinking, you know what? I go and watch football at Stamford Bridge every other week, and I see some of the best players in the world, managed by the best manager in the world, playing some astonishing. I didn't nearly say that. That was some astonishing football. And I get my team that I feel passionate about, that I'm emotionally attached to, that I feel close to, which I have the same group of friends that I go to every week. I get drunk with. I see them win stuff. And I spend a fortune doing it. And I'm connected to that. Whereas with England, I just want to tear my hair out.
But even away from the ground, even people who don't go every week, because there is so much football on TV now, people do feel that connection more than they do. You know, as we've got the benches today, people who watch games in America, watch games in Dubai, obviously. It's a global game now, and people really feel that connection with the club.
I'm going to pick up on that the foreign issue a little bit later, because we've got some lads here who are from abroad. I'd be interested to hear what they say. But before we do that, particularly as we've been on a bit of a nostalgic trip down Chidge's memory lane of watching England, we've got one of my bestest mates in football on the line, Mr. Rob Shepherd.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, mate. How are you?
Houston to Dallas.
Yeah. Major Tom, is there something going wrong?
Well, there is. Major Tom. Indeed. Ziggy Stardust, come on. Let's not do too many Bowie metaphors. Come on, ask me a question.
Well, the thing is, Rob, I mean, I don't know if you heard any of my kind of preamble and rant about this, but I was basically saying that, like you, I grew up in the early 70s and I was madly passionate about England, even though they were we didn't get to World Cups and things in those days. But I think and I think it is really since the the beginning of this century, if you like, since about 2000, the better that Chelsea do, and the more shambolic England becomes, the more out of love I feel with England, and a lot of that is because I feel disconnected from them in a way that I obviously don't with Chelsea. And I'm just wondering if it's an age thing or what. I mean, where do you sit with this whole club v country thing?
Well, good question. Is it an age thing? Certainly when I grew up, England was first, club was second as a fan. But obviously I supported West Ham, so we won the World Cup in 1966 with Peters, Hurst and Moore.
Was that when West Ham won the World Cup, Rob?
You said that already.
Oh.
It's a joke, really, to be honest with you. We knew Alan Ball was there and no Chelsea players, funny enough.
They should have been, though. Why didn't Osgood get a start? Or Benetti?
Because Osgood was 14.
Well, that's true.
And also,
he was still
let's
good
not forget.
He wasn't.
Let's
he was
not
18,
forget
and he was playing
that
for Chelsea.
Benetti threw the goals in the net in 1970.
But anyway, go on, Rob. Sorry for interrupting.
Absolutely no. I love England. World Cups are most important to me, right? That is an old school thing, but I do understand why people are disenfranchised by it or disassociated. I mean, last week's farce against Denmark. I mean, why would people want to pay to go and watch that?
Do you know what, Rob? I mean, I didn't go, but I watched it on the box, and this is really, watching that game was what's kind of started the idea of having this debate tonight, because I watched that, and England, to me, they look like a championship side. I just thought it was dreadful. The quality of football was dreadful. And every week I go and watch Chelsea and I see better quality football with better players.
There's something even more profound, Chids, is, let's take John Terry. In the reality, John Terry should be England's centre-half this summer, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
But he's retired from international football for one reason or another, and it's not going to change. So basically, England are going to go to the World Cup without their best centre-half.
So, I mean, it kind of pains me to say it, but basically what I'm saying really is I don't care. I don't care about what happens with England anymore.
Don't you?
No, I don't. I've fallen out of love with England as a football side.
Yeah, but in a way, Chids, that's because you support a team that is, playing generally at the top level, you're a Champions League side. You see your team on television very much. Don't forget the people that really support England, the people that... I know you live in Winchester, Chid, so what is your local team?
Don't tell everybody that. I live in Fulham Road, opposite Stamford Bridge.
Well, of course you do. I mean, I know. No, what you don't want to do is tell the council tax people that.
You never know who's watching, Rob.
Let's move on. Let's move on from that moment. And we're all socialists here, in inverted commas, but not when it comes. No, anyway. There are a lot of people that support England because their teams don't achieve much. So in my experience, and I've covered England for 30 years really, or certainly 25 years, and most of the passionate English fans come from Exeter or Carlisle or Blackpool, wherever they come from. Obviously, when it was hooliganism, a little bit of Chelsea and West Ham fans, but essentially. Their moment of glory is, tying themselves to England. So you've got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's where your mentality is. But for me, I'm a slightly not bizarre, but I'm a patriot.
Yeah.
But I'm not a nationalist. If
I know. I get what you're saying.
So. I'm not the English Defence League, but I believe in England, and I've seen John. The John Terry thing's very upsetting, but I understand John's point of view, and also the fact of the matter is, England will never pick John Terry again, and neither Rio Ferdinand. Right?
Okay, Rob, I've got a question for you from Dan Levine. Dan's on the show with us tonight.
Hello, Dan.
He's a fellow scribe. Dan, far away.
Rob, hi. Just an interesting question for you, maybe, is from one journalist to another. I think the sort of disenfranchisement with England goes beyond Chelsea. It's there at a lot of clubs, and I wondered if you agreed that maybe it's because of what's sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of drama that's been made out of the England team by some of our front page colleagues.
Well, when you go back, Dan, I have to tell you, it was difficult when I was covering England as a football journalist or hack or whatever you want to describe it as, in the late 80s and early 90s, just prior to Italian 90 particularly, when hooliganism was massively on the agenda, obviously post Heysel and then Hillsborough, for a variety of reasons. I'm not saying Hillsborough was hooliganism, but at the time there was aspects. There was ID cards, there was Thatcher, there was Evans at Luton. Ken Bates had put up the barbed wire at Chelsea, memorably. Following England was difficult, what can I say? There was an aspect where following England was regarded as a hooligan thing, right? And 1990 changed that, but I have to tell you, it was very difficult covering all that, Dan. I don't know. Ask me another question about that era.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Rob. Stay on the line, but I just want to bring the others in for a sec because just to broaden it out. Because I think half of what I'm getting at. I mean, I love England, and I'll always love England. And I mean, if we won the World Cup, I will be ecstatic. And I know it kind of goes against what I've said, but I will probably celebrate that even more than Chelsea winning the Champions League. I don't know.
Really?
I might do. I might. No. Okay, no, I won't. Because I celebrated like it was going out of fashion. But what I would say is let's open up the debate a bit more because I think it's not just England that's the issue here. I think international football is potentially got a bit of a problem here, boys. And, if you think about it, I mean, has it got a future? That's what I'm really saying.
The madness of them having the league, the European aspect of the league of next year of internationals, all being with all these minnows, these ridiculous, these was it Faroe Islands and who are the people we've got out of the hat? I mean, it's just who wants to go and watch that? You need to have competitive games. There should be a seeding process.
Well, I think you've got a really good point there about the fact that there are a lot of low quality third division type teams in international football that we have to play. I think the other thing is of course the increasing power of the clubs.
I think that's key actually, is the fact that in the past international football was able to take precedence because it was seen as the elite, whereas now if you've got people that are getting paid £300,000 a week by their primary employer, then they're expected by everybody to give their full duty to that primary employer, and it's an annoyance really when they get sent away to international teams for a week or whatever. I think
that's another thing. I mean, by the way, Rob, do feel free to pop back in any time you
like.
Well,
I have to say, I'm not sure who said that, but I'm not going to berate the fella there, but the primary employer. I mean, my God. I mean, do me a favour. It's football.
Tell that
listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. But if that's the attitude, that's where it is. And if it is, if it's business that way. I mean, do you think, I know Bobby Moore, God bless his soul, or Jeff Hurst, or Alan Ball, when I cried the day he died. Do you think that they concern themselves about who their primary employer?
No, they didn't, Rob. They didn't, Rob.
And I tell you, I've met Gerson, I've met Pele, I've met Jarzina.
Yeah, but Rob, that was then, and this is now, and I think...
No, but the game's the same. Listen, Chid, sorry. The ball is still round, side 5.
So it's not Bobby Moore or Alan Ball's perception, though, Rob. The point is the supporters' perception. If I'm paying thousands of pounds, to watch Chelsea play, I feel more attached to that than I would do. I think Paul's point was that we're paying these wages for the club footballers to play. We feel more attachment to them than we do to the England national team when they try and get rid of people like John Terry.
I accept that. I accept your argument there, but John Terry decided he didn't want to play for England, right?
He can't blame the can you? I think the FA knew it was going to happen.
No, but he retired from England. We know why, but they didn't get rid of him. And by the way, who are they? Is this the prisoner? Calm down. Calm down. Who are they? Number 6 or number 5? Just calm down. John Terry does not want to play for England. I'll tell you why he doesn't want to play for England. Because of the scenario that happened with the situation that he had with Anton Ferdinand, right?
Yeah, well, we know that.
And also, off the record, without getting too awkward, there was a Rio Ferdinand situation with that.
Yeah, there was.
Funny enough, neither player has played for England since. I can't tell you why that is, but work it out.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, mate.
Because the FA don't... To be fair to the FA, at some point, they're taking a step back and thinking, we don't want these two guys playing silly games, all right? When we've got other players who can play in those positions.
Rob, very quickly, because we got to go to a break.
Does that make sense or not?
Well, I think you make a fair point there, but I think the bigger villains in the piece, really, and why a lot of people are so disconnected, are because you've got idiots like Platini and Blatter running it. But that's not the point I want to make. My last point really is that I've got a vision of the future for international football. Which is, instead of, or maybe as well as the World Cups and the European Championships, maybe we should have an international tournament where you pit the best players from each league. So the best Premier League 11 plays the best La Liga 11.
No, well, that will never happen, Chids, because that would undermine the World Cup. The World Cup's the World Cup.
Well, what if we push Blatter out? Then maybe we can have it. Because that's a con. This is the thing that really upsets me, Rob. The World Cup was a beautiful, pure, fantastic tournament. Mm-hmm. And since Blatter's been the president of FIFA, it's become an insidious, corrupt, nihilistic competition.
Well, but I mean, I think prior to that, Havelange was... I think there were... Are you alleging backhanders going on?
Sorry, mate. Can I say that again?
Are you alleging backhanders and stuff like that?
Well, hang on. It is a matter of record, isn't it, that voting delegates in awarding the FA Cup did take quite large gifts from some of the football associations.
Mate, you know what? This is going to be a debate that's going to run, and hopefully I'm going to see Rob this week over a pint or 3 and carry it on then. But Rob, we've got to go to break sadly. But thank you so much for contributing to a fascinating debate, mate. Thank you.